Hello, welcome back to week 3 of what are we doing? What are we what are we doing? Um and like I said, this week will be a little bit different, and honestly I feel like you could take the verse that we're going to be talking about in like one of two ways, and hopefully I will be able to convince you that one way is better than the other. But let's get into the verse. We're going to be reading from the book of Ecclesiastes. I honestly feel like it's a awesome book that doesn't get read or talked about a lot. People will think it was written by Solomon, who of course was the man of like immense wisdom given to him by God. And then here he's writing this book that is just full of like insight and knowledge. So without further ado, we're going to be reading Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verses 1 and 2, and then also verse 14. It says this: The words of the teacher, son of David, king in Jerusalem. Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher. Utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? And then verse 14: I have seen all the things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind. So we have this key word that keeps popping up over and over: meaningless, right? And the author is basically saying, like, we do these things, we toil under the sun, but nothing is new, nothing really comes from it. Um, we are chasing after the wind. And if you think about that literally, will you ever catch the wind? No. Chasing after the wind is just like this futile effort. And so when we're talking about like the meaning and the purpose of life, well, the author seems to be saying it's meaningless, right? Everything we do eventually will be forgotten, doesn't lead to anything, and there's no point. So that's it for me. I'll talk to you guys next week. No. Um, so the one of two ways, I think the first interpretation or way of understanding this message is to be like, well, that's depressing, right? Um, that's depressing to think that nothing I do matters or will matter. And it can make you feel like fatalistic, which is that idea that like nothing I do matters, so might as well give up. Might as well give up. But the second understanding that I think is a more whole and integrated way of understanding that idea is that it can take the pressure off of us. The pressure off of us to find a deeper meaning to everything, to find a purpose or a deeper meaning in our life. Because truly, you can carve out your own meaning, your own purpose, right? If life itself is this chasing after the wind, then don't put so much pressure on yourself to make sure you're doing the right thing and that you're on the right course, right? Because if life is just chasing after the wind, well, then you get to pick your course. Chase the wind in whatever direction you want to chase it and feel okay about that and feel okay about that, right? Now, that doesn't mean that we get to ignore the previous weeks of like being loved and loving others. It just means that now we can do it in a way that we feel is most true to ourselves. We can do it in a way that feels most true to ourselves. Because if everything is just chasing after the wind, then let's allow ourselves to be loved because we're just chasing the wind. We can't really do that in a right way or a wrong way, can we? So let's not beat ourselves up when we feel like we have messed up or that we're on a wrong path because we're all just chasing after the wind. So take a deep breath and just be like, it's going to be okay. Even like my biggest mistake 150 years from now, no one's going to remember it. Right? So let's take that pressure off. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And then in loving others, Well, we're all just chasing after the wind. So, what way is most fun and fulfilling for you to go about loving others, to go about sharing that good news that we are deeply loved? And so, I don't want this message of like it's meaningless to be depressing or fatalistic or make you want to give up, which I know it can feel that way. What I want it to do is to set you free, to take the pressure off of like feeling like, what am I doing? What am I doing with my time? Like, how come I'm not starting my own business? How come I'm not like taking college classes already? How come I'm not XYZ? Whatever it is. You could do that if you want. And if you don't want, then don't do that. Do what you want because, like the author says, it's all just chasing the wind, right? It's all just chasing the wind. And I think that doesn't mean that things aren't important, right? Because God gives us things to enjoy. He gave us a soul and a spirit that longs for things, that enjoys things, that feels satisfaction. But I think it means don't let yourself get so overburdened with the idea of like there's a right thing to do in life and a wrong thing to do in life, right? Let's not let ourselves get so weighed down by that type of thinking. Um, if you have any questions or other insights about this passage and how it might relate to like a purpose in life, I would love to hear about those. So let's talk about it at our midweek gathering. But that's it for our series on what are we doing? What are we doing? So consider, like, maybe it's just going to be a random time where that question pops in your head. What am I doing? And ask yourself, am I allowing myself to be loved in this moment? Am I pursuing sharing that message with other people by loving them? And am I allowing myself the freedom to choose what I want to do? Um, but yeah, next week we will start a brand new series. I am excited about it, and we'll see you then. Ta ta!